Why did the ancient Greeks fear the god of wine more than the god of death? You probably picture Dionysus as the fun guy, the chill one, the chubby dude on a donkey in Fantasia, or the party animal in Hercules. You think of grapes, theatre, and maybe a bad hangover. But the real Dionysus didn't just want your wine. He wanted your sanity. You're about to see why his cults were actually banned by the Roman government, and why his followers didn't just drink, they tore living people apart with their bare hands. We need to talk about the lie we've all been sold. Go into any museum and look at the statues. You see Apollo standing there perfect and rigid. You see Athena looking wise and stern, and then you see Dionysus. He looks soft, smiling, welcoming. He's the god of the grape harvest, right? How scary can a grape be? That is the trap. That image is the bait. See, the Greeks understood something about human nature that we like to ignore. They knew that if you repress your emotions, if you bottle up your wild side, eventually the bottle explodes. Dionysus wasn't the god of partying, he was the god of release, the god of the other. He was the thing that happens when the laws of society break down and the animal inside takes over. And the way he triggered that release wasn't through a polite glass of Merlot. It was through a ritual called Sparagmos. This is where the story gets dark. The followers of Dionysus were mostly women, called Maenads. In Greek, the word literally means the raving ones. When the spirit of the god entered them, they wouldn't just dance. They would enter a trance state called ecstasis, which is where we get the word ecstasy. But it didn't mean happiness. It meant standing outside oneself. They weren't themselves anymore. They would run into the mountains, barefoot, screaming, fueled by wine and religious mania. And if they came across an animal, a goat, a bull, sometimes even a lion, they wouldn't run away. They would swarm it. They didn't use knives. They didn't use spears. They used their hands. The ritual of Sparagmos involved the Maenads physically ripping the animal apart, limb from limb, while it was still alive. And then came the omophagia, eating the flesh raw. This wasn't just a horror story told to scare kids. This was a religious sacrament. They believed that by eating the raw flesh and drinking the hot blood, they were consuming the god himself. They were taking his power into their own veins. It's a stark contrast to the fun wine guy, isn't it? But the Greeks went a step further. They wrote myths to warn people what happens if you try to deny this dark side of yourself. The most famous one is the story of King Pentheus, and honestly, it plays out like a modern psychological thriller. Pentheus is the king of Thebes. He's a strict guy. He likes law and order. He hears that his cousin, Dionysus, is in town, spreading this new religion, where women run into the woods and go crazy. Pentheus hates it. He arrests Dionysus, who just lets it happen, smiling the whole time, and throws him in prison. Good luck jailing a god who can melt chains. Dionysus breaks out, but he doesn't kill the king. Instead, he starts playing mind games. He convinces Pentheus that he shouldn't just arrest the women, he should go watch them. He appeals to the king's voyeurism. So the king dresses up in women's clothing to sneak into the ritual on the mountain. He climbs a tree to get a better look. And this is where the horror hits. The women are in a trance. They are blind to reality. Among them is Agave, Pentheus's own mother. Dionysus lifts the veil of sanity just enough to trick them. They look up at the tree, but they don't see a king. They don't see a man. They see a mountain lion. Agave, the king's mother, leads the charge. She climbs the tree. She drags her own son down. Pentheus rips off his wig, screaming, "Mother, it's me, it's your son." She doesn't hear him. To her, he is just a beast. The myths say she ripped his arm off at the shoulder with a single pull. The rest of the women swarmed him. They tore him to pieces. Agave marches back to the city, holding her son's severed head, thinking it's a lion's trophy. She presents it to her father, proud of her kill. And slowly, the trance fades. The wine wears off, and she realizes what she's holding. That is the true face of Dionysus. He is the joy of the wine, yes, but he is also the hangover. He is the madness that makes a mother destroy her own child because she can't distinguish reality from hallucination. But here is the thing that historians find really fascinating. You might think, okay, that's just a myth. People didn't actually do that. Well, let's fast forward to Rome, 186 BC. The Romans were practical people. They liked engineering, legions, and structure. They adopted the Greek gods, but they renamed them. Dionysus became Bacchus. At first, the cult of Bacchus was secret, but then it started spreading like a virus through Rome's lower classes. It wasn't just women anymore. It was men, women, slaves, and nobles, mixing together in secret meetings at night. Now, to the Roman Senate, this was terrifying, not because of the religion, but because of the secrecy. In Rome, the state came first, but in the Bacchic cult, the god came first. Rumors started flying. People whispered about ritual murders, about wills being forged during drunken orgies, about poisonings. The panic was so real that the Roman Senate passed the Senatus Consultum de Bacchanalibus. It was basically a declaration of war on a religion. They investigated the cult. According to the historian Livy, over 7,000 people were implicated. Most of them were executed. Think about that. The government executed thousands of its own citizens because they were so terrified of the chaos this god represented. They banned the secret rites. They said, you can worship him, but only in daylight, only one-on-one, and you need a permit. They tried to bureaucratize the god of madness. But where does all this darkness come from? Why is the god of wine also the god of terror? It goes back to his own origin story, and this is the part that usually gets left out of the children's books. There's an older myth, one that predates the Olympians we know. In this version, Dionysus is the son of Zeus and Persephone. Hera, Zeus's jealous wife, hates the baby. So she sends the Titans, the giant ancient monsters, to kill him. The Titans find the baby Dionysus. They paint their faces with white gypsum to hide their identity. They distract the child with toys, a mirror, a spinning top, and while he's distracted, they strike. The Titans tear the baby Dionysus apart. They rip him to shreds and eat him. Athena manages to save just his heart. She brings it to Zeus, who uses it to resurrect him. This is why Dionysus understands pain. He is the only god who has died. He is the only god who has been torn apart. So when his followers tear animals apart, they are reenacting his trauma. They are inflicting on the world what the world inflicted on him. He represents the cycle of nature: growth, harvest, crushing the grapes, fermentation, and rebirth. You have to destroy the grape to make the wine. You have to destroy the sanity to find the ecstasy. It's a terrifying duality. On one hand, you have Apollo. Apollo is distance. He is the arrow shot from afar. He is logic, music, math, the sun. He is safe. On the other hand, you have Dionysus. He is contact. He is the mob. He is the sweat on the dance floor, the blood on the ground, the loss of control. Civilization requires Apollo. We need laws. We need boundaries. We need to know that our mothers aren't going to rip our heads off because they think we're lions. But we also crave Dionysus. Look at our world today. Why do we love horror movies? Why do we get drunk? Why do we scream at football games until our voices break? Because the other is still inside us. The Greeks didn't worship Dionysus because they liked him. They worshipped him because they feared him. They knew that if you didn't invite him to the party, he would crash it. And if he crashes it, he burns the house down. They built theatres to honor him. Tragedy, the art of watching terrible things happen to people, was a gift to Dionysus. It was a safe way to experience the madness without actually killing anyone. So the next time you see a statue of that smiling, soft guy with the grapes, don't be fooled. He isn't smiling because he's happy. He's smiling because he knows that underneath your suit, or your uniform, or your polite smile, there is a wild animal waiting to get out. And he holds the key to the cage. So I have to ask you, knowing the true cost of that freedom, if you had the choice between a life of perfect, boring safety with Apollo or just one night of absolute, dangerous, unchecked freedom with Dionysus, which risk are you taking?